1939, Nazi Germany invaded my homeland, Poland. The Second World War broke out. On 17 September 1939, we received a blow from another direction. The Soviet Union also made an onslaught on Poland. In the wake of the alliance between Hitler and Stalin, Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia, Poland lost its independence, was wiped out from the map of the world, and subjected to extremely brutal occupation. This is precisely why we understand the tragedy of Ukraine better than any other country in the world, and the tragedy of other countries experiencing the pandemonium of war. In the Second World War, 6 million of our citizens perished, including 3 million Polish Jews, and Warsaw, the capital of Poland, was razed to the ground. And yet our history stands as a testament that even crimes and persecution are not able to suppress the true spirit of freedom, that freedom will finally prevail. Enslavement, imperialism, and neocolonialism are a denial of freedom as much as insane dreams of dominating the others. When unleashing the war in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin wanted to restore the Russian Empire, to divide the world, and to make Europe systematically dependent on his raw materials. He has not succeeded. It is my firm belief that he will no longer succeed. Ladies and gentlemen, today the world needs courageous and visionary leaders. The late President of Poland, Lech Kaczyński, with whom I had the honor to cooperate, was such a leader. The leader who a dozen of years ago was trying to shake the conscience, to appeal to politicians, to warn of imperial policy of Vladimir Putin's Russia. Let me recall at this point his seminal words said in Tbilisi at the height of Russian aggression on Georgia in 2008. For the first time in a long time, Russians have shown the face we have known for hundreds of years. They believe that the nations around them should be subjected to them. We say no. Russia believes that the old days of the empire that collapsed less than 20 years ago are coming back. That domination will again be feature of our region. Well, it will not. Those days are over, once and for all. Yes, today, in this very place, at the United Nations headquarters, I wish to reiterate, those days can never return. The logic of conquest, changing borders by force, disregarding the law, and denying the Ukrainian people their right to exist must be stopped. This brutal war must end and not be converted into a frozen war. This can only be done by restoring the full territorial integrity of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders. Ladies and gentlemen, Poland's position in the face of any war is clear and straightforward. We demand absolute respect for internationally recognized national borders. The inviolability of these borders is a fundamental element of the world order. Today, the victim is Ukraine. Tomorrow, it could be any one of us if we do not follow these ironclad rules, if we do not insistently enforce compliance with international law. Forgotten and unpunished war crimes, crimes against humanity, build a sense of impunity among the perpetrators. Such crimes give permission to their successors and imitators who, following suit, commit similar crimes when they want to dominate and determine the fate of other states and nations. The crimes in a war in Ukraine are the living proof thereof. That is why we are engaged in initiative to hold Russia accountable for gross violations of fundamental norms of international law. We strongly support the work of the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice. We support the work of the Independent International Commission under the UN Human Rights Council to investigate violation of human rights and humanitarian law in the context of Russian aggression and to collect, verify, and preserve evidence. We support the idea of establishing an ad hoc special tribunal. The crimes must be accounted for and the perpetrators punished. Ladies and gentlemen, information wherefore goes on. Lie is used to cover up and justify Russian crimes on civilian population. Russia continually tries to shape international public opinion by building a false vision of the reality. In Poland, this comes as no surprise to us, but the world is just about to discover the scale of manipulation and disinformation. This spearhead is often directed also at my country, Poland, labeled in many various ways. This is because we have consistently been opposing Russia's imperial and neo-colonial policy and have supported Ukraine in its defense from the outset. We, as international community, must draw conclusions from the situation. We must confront manipulation. We must fight against the hypocrisy of history, the reversal of the roles of the henchman and a victim. What is evil should be called evil. A crime should be called a crime. Ladies and gentlemen, these days, many states are blamed for prolonging the war as they supply necessary weapons to Ukraine in its defense war. This is a completely false logic, as if putting the blame on a neighbor who comes to aid to the people next door defending their own home against mugger. If someone attacks your household, you have the right to defend it, and the neighbors should not to stay indifferent. Ukraine would not be able to resist the aggression and effectively stand for its independence if it were not for the assistance of other countries, and primarily on the biggest scale, the United States of America. It is the United States that has been playing a pivotal role in assuring security in Europe for more than a century. I'm saying so as a president of the European country which was plagued by war experience on so many occasions. It must be remembered that the engagement of the United States in the First World War led it to an end, as much as to the restoration of independence by Poland and by other countries of the Central and Eastern Europe. The United States played a pivotal role in defeating Nazi Germany. Without the US support, neither the United Kingdom nor the Soviet Union would have been able to resist Hitler. Finally, the United States was instrumental in the reconstruction of Western Europe in the aftermath of war and in fending off the threat posed by the Soviet Union throughout the Cold War. It is too often that Europe tends to forget that it owes its security and prosperity to the US commitment and presence. In Poland, we recall this very well. That is why Poland's top priority for the time of our presidency of the European Union in the first half of 2025 will be enhancing transatlantic relations and cooperation between the EU and the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, Poland has never had colonies, the fact of which we are proud. We emphasize it on all occasions. Instead, my home country was many times brutally attacked, destroyed, and used by the neighbors with their imperial ambitions. For 123 years, Poland disappeared from the maps of the world. That is why we understand very well the countries that suffered colonialism and the challenges they need to confront. Wherever the international community is in need, Poland is always ready to respond to the call and without any hesitation. We provide assistance in many corners of the world. Despite the war in the immediate neighborhood, we will continue our support to the Eastern Partnership countries. We continue to focus on countries of the sub-Saharan region. We are present in the Middle East. Given the refugee crisis caused by the war in Syria, Poland's assistance to Iraq, Lebanon, Palestine, and Jordan will be maintained. Poland will also continue its humanitarian support. Many places around the world are facing worsening food crisis. The situation is most difficult in Africa, where 1 in 5 people is suffering from hunger. Also, the population suffering hunger is increasing in West Asia and the Caribbean. Today, an estimated 2.4 billion people lack sustainable regular access to food, of which some 900 million face severe food insecurity. Therefore, in 2022, we in Poland have supported the World Food Fund activities in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, including Lebanon, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and Syria. We found our activities mainly through multilateral channels, as well as through Polish NGOs and their local partners. Poland fully recognizes the ambitions of the African Union to play an even more active role in the on the global stage. Ensuring peace and development in Africa will be facilitated by good and cost-effective governance and the development of democracy on the continent. We respect African solutions to African problems, standing ready to share the experience we have gained in the difficult but successful transformation of our economy. Ladies and gentlemen, Poland is a country of freedom and solidarity. It is known worldwide for the great solidarity movement, which not only stood for workers' rights, but also for freedom and fundamental values. The movement which brought together millions of people courageously defied an evil and changed the course of modern history, bringing about the fall of communism. We are extremely proud of our solidarity. Upon Russian aggression on Ukraine, the Poles have once again illustrated that solidarity is not only the great history, but that solidarity lives in us. Millions of my compatriots committed themselves to bring aid to the people fleeing the nightmare of war. In the very first days of the war, many journalists were coming to Poland and invariably asked me, "Where are the refugee camps?" And my response was, "There are not any. There are not. there was no talk about camps. We hosted our guests in our own homes. We also had the honor of hosting many world leaders who came bringing humanitarian aid, including the United Nations Secretary General and other United Nations high-ranking officials. Thank you for your support and for your presence. Greater solidarity must come as a response to the evil, the war, and aggression. Without solidarity, there will be no lasting peace. Ladies and gentlemen, the world today needs more solidarity. We believe that the idea of solidarity-based development, which we hold so dear, is a beacon for security and prosperity. Poland is ready to take on concrete measures to support the United Nations operation undertaken to confront the most fundamental global challenges and threats, social and economic crisis. We wish to support the idea of just transition of economic and social changes that will not lose sight of the human dimension so that nobody is left behind. We believe that our experience as a leader of Central Europe, the fifth economy in European Union, and the largest state in a Three Seas initiative can prove valuable in many countries which varying degrees of economic and social development. We are ready to share with our partners from around the world not only our experience in the process of economic transformation, but also specific technologies that many Polish companies have available. Poland is proud to have been elected as a member of the United Nations Economic and Social Council for the 2024-2026 term. A key priority for our ECOSOC membership will be to draw the international community's attention to the impact of global crises such as armed conflicts, the energy crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, and climate change, their impact on socio-economic development. Time is running out to achieve the goals of the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals, and there are still many challenges ahead, so we must unite and intensify our efforts to accelerate the implementation of the individual tasks. Ladies and gentlemen, today the United Nations measures its strength against various challenges. The decision-making impasse in Security Council, the situation in which Russia, one of the permanent members of the Council, is deliberately violating the UN Charter. The lengthy debates are considered a symptom of the weakness of both the organization and its constituent states. There are some people who ask questions about whether the UN is needed at all. Does it fit the times? On behalf of Poland, a neighbor of attacked Ukraine, a country that has taken in millions of refugees, I emphatically answer, yes, the United Nations is very much needed. No better system for international cooperation has been invented. The United Nations best justifies its experience not here in the New York or Geneva, but by bringing aid and assistance to those most in need, children, victims of war, the persecuted and the hungry, every day, all over the world. In 2025, the UN will celebrate 80th years of its existence. We remember why it was founded. Today, in these dangerous times, we need a return to the thinking and actions of the founding fathers of the United Nations. There will be no lasting peace without cooperation, without solidarity between richer and poorer countries, and ultimately without respect for international law. Poland wants cooperation. Poland wants solidarity. Poland wants peace. Thank you very much for your attention.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Poland for the statement just made, and I request protocol to escort His Excellency. The Assembly will hear an address by His Excellency Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermudez, President of the Republic of Cuba. I request protocol to escort His Excellency. On behalf of the General Assembly, I have the honor to welcome His Excellency Miguel Díaz-Canel.
Traigo a esta asamblea la voz del sur,
I am
la de los
bringing to this
explotados
assembly
y
the voice
vilipendiados,
of the South,
como se lo oyó
the
decir a Che
exploited and
Guevara
humiliated,
en
as
esta
was said
misma
by
sala
Che Guevara in this
hace
same
casi
room
60
almost
años.
60 years ago.
Pueblos diversos con
We are a
problemas
diverse
comunes.
group of nations
Lo
sharing the
acabamos de
same
confirmar
problems.
en La
We
Habana,
have just confirmed that
que
in
se
Havana,
honró en acoger la
which was
cumbre
honored to
de
host the
líderes y
summit
otros
of leaders
altos
and other high
representantes del Grupo de los
representatives of the
77 y China,
G77 and China,
la agrupación de
which is
naciones
the
más
most
representativa,
representative, broad
amplia y diversa
and diverse
que existe
representation
en la
that
esfera
exists in the
multilateral.
multilateral arena.
Durante 2 días
During
prácticamente sin
those two
descanso,
virtually
más de 100
tireless days,
representantes de
more
las
than 100
134
representatives
naciones
from
que integran el
134
grupo
nations making up the group
levantaron sus voces
raised their
para demandar
voices
cambios que ya no
to
pueden
call for
posponerse
changes that can
más
no longer be
en el
postponed
injusto,
in the midst
irracional
of
y
this
abusivo orden
unjust,
económico
irrational and
internacional
abusive
que ha
international
profundizado
economic order
año
that
tras
year
año
after year
las
has
enormes
deepened the
desigualdades
enormous
entre una minoría de
inequalities between a
naciones muy
minority
desarrolladas
of
y una
well-developed
mayoría
nations
que no logra
and a
superar
majority
el
that has
eufemismo
not managed
de
to
naciones
get rid of the
en
euphemism
desarrollo.
of developing
Peor aún,
nations.
como
Worse
reconoció el
still,
secretario general de
as was
Naciones
recognized
Unidas
by the United
en
Nations
la
Secretary
cumbre de La
General
Habana,
at the Havana
el
Summit,
G77
the
se fundó
G77
hace
was
6
founded
décadas
6
para
decades
remediar
ago
siglos de
to
injusticia
repair
y abandono,
centuries of
y en
injustice
el
and
convulso mundo
abandonment.
actual
And in
se ven
today's
enredados
convulsive world,
en una
they are
maraña de crisis
entangled in a
mundiales
host of
donde la
world
pobreza
crises,
va en aumento
where poverty
y
is
el
on the
hambre
rise
es cada
and
vez
hunger
mayor.
is even greater.
Nos unió la necesidad de
We are
cambiar
united by the need
lo
to
que no ha
change,
sido resuelto
which has not
y la
been
condición
resolved,
de víctimas
and by the condition of being the
de
main
la actual
victims
crisis
of the current
multidimensional
global
global,
multidimensional
del abusivo
crisis,
intercambio desigual,
abusive
de la
unequal
brecha
exchange,
científica tecnológica
scientific and
y de la
technological gaps,
degradación
and
del
the
medio
degradation
ambiente.
of the environment.
Pero también nos unen
But
desde
we are
hace más
also
de medio
united
siglo
and have been for
el
more than
desafío
half a century
ineludible
now by the
y la
inescapable
determinación de
challenge
transformar el
and the
orden
determination to
internacional actual,
transform the
que
current
además de
international order,
excluyente e irracional,
which, as well as being
es
exclusionary and
insostenible para el
irrational, is
planeta
unsustainable
e
for the
inviable
planet
para el
and
bienestar
is not
de
viable
todos.
for the well-being of all.
Los países representados en el
The countries
G77 y
represented
China,
at the G77
donde
and
vive el
China, where more
80%
than
de la población
80% of the
mundial,
population
no
lives,
solo tenemos el reto del desarrollo,
do not only
sino
have the
también la
challenge of
responsabilidad
development,
de
they also
modificar
have the
las
responsibility
estructuras
of
que
modifying
nos marginan del
those structures which
progreso global
marginalize us
y
from social
convierten a muchos
progress
pueblos del sur
and turn many peoples
en
of the South
laboratorios de
into
renovadas formas de
laboratories for
dominación.
renewed forms of
Urge
domination.
un nuevo y más justo
A new and
contrato
more just
global.
global contract is
Señor
imperative.
Presidente, a solo 7 años del plazo fijado para el
Only 7
cumplimiento de la
years ahead of the
esperanzadora
deadline established to
Agenda
implement the
2030,
promising 2030
el
agenda,